Okay, welcome to How to Be a Dungeon Master. I'm real excited about my guest, Lauren Oboe Urban. Do you even really need an introduction?
Why do you gotta boost my ego like that?
I'm going to give you one anyway because it's wonderful, because you just are wonderful. But Lauren Urban, who is the community manager for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, a wonderful game by our partners at Codename Entertainment, as well as a professional classical musician on oboe and English horn, hence the oboe in your name. Many of you, though, in our community know Lauren as a prolific dungeon master and somebody who has appeared on a variety of live streams and podcasts. And Greg and I gave you a very, we could have went on in the intro, but I did say, I just miss her and I want to talk to her. So that's why, partially my selfish reasons for asking you to be a guest here. But I also will say that you really are one of the brightest stars in the D&D community. I think we can all agree with that. Your positivity, your supportiveness, and you're always out there just lifting people up the Dragon Talk way. And we love that, and we love you. So just a little shout out to your awesomeness there. And
thank you. I appreciate that. I was super happy to come on the show too, because I miss you and I miss Greg and I miss chatting with everybody. So I jumped at the chance, and then it was like, well, wait, what are we going to talk about?
What are we going to talk about? Because
we should probably have a topic.
We could just go on about your awesomeness, but being that you are a prolific dungeon master, let's pick your brain here, because I know that you can teach me and our listeners a thing or two about dungeon mastering. One of the things we talk about a lot in this segment is game preparation. And a lot of us who have never really prepped for a game don't really know, what does that mean exactly? Like, when I take notes, I do this. Well, I don't even know what people are taking notes and stuff on. You were gracious enough to volunteer to actually show us, with sharing the screen, and maybe we'll go ahead and have you cue that up so we can make sure that works. But to actually see your notes for how you prepped for an adventure that you wrote that is called The Pie Fight, which listeners can find on the DM's Guild. It's an adventure for 6th level characters. It's a 3-hour adventure. So I immediately was anticipating like 60, 70 pages.
No.
That's what I felt like. It's like 10. And as I was going through the adventure, I thought, wow, you did a really good job just even in the text for like kind of laying things out for dungeon masters and for the read aloud text and like what to set up and things like that, which is really good for us as newbies out there. So, but I'm real curious to learn, how would a new dungeon master go about prepping?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. So let's get into it, because that is the kind of thing that you hear about when it's like, let's do your first time as a DM and now prep this adventure. And a lot of people can just skip over that whole thing, which is hard to do. I cannot share my screen because screen sharing is disabled. So
is that on our end?
It says host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, screen sharing is disabled. Okay.
Okay. We can just talk about this with the two of us, and that is just fine. Because here's the thing about prep. The hardest part is that when you first start, there's a ton of advice out there, and all of it is correct about how to prep an adventure, because everybody eventually kind of develops your own style. And as you DM and as you prep for either individual sessions or a one-shot like what we're going to talk about, a lot of it becomes learning about the things that you really need and learning about the things that you can forget about. So I'm going to kind of go over what I think are the basics.
Okay.
And I think a one shot is the best way to do this because it's, like you said, it's a smaller thing. Like my adventure is 10 pages, and that includes a credits and an opening page. Candlekeep Mysteries just came out, and most of those adventures are 10 to 12 pages. It's the same kind of thing. It's a digestible thing. So it's not quite as it's not quite as daunting as trying to look at, say, Curse of Strahd and go, oh, that's a lot of pages.
Yes.
So I'm gonna preface this with my grain of salt, which is what I tell you is what I do, and I think what a lot of DMs do. And eventually you will find that some of the stuff that I tell you to do, you don't have to do. And some of the stuff that I don't, that I say, you don't have to do this quite so much, you might need to do. It's an iterative process. You're going to be great the first time you do it, and then you're going to get better every time you do it since. So we've just picked up the pie fight. You have graciously bought my silly adventure. The first thing, and this sounds like such a basic thing to say, but I think even experienced dungeon masters forget about this. Sit down and read the entire adventure. And I don't mean read it with a notebook. I don't mean read it taking notes or highlights or anything. I mean just sit like it's a novel and just read through it and enjoy what you're reading and just kind of soak it in. And the reason this is really important is a couplefold. One, this is going to let you have those moments of discovery that are important later on when you're running the game. Those moments in the adventure when you're reading along going, oh, that's cool, or oh, I really like that. Those are moments that are going to be the cool, I like that moments when you're running the game. And so let yourself have those moments. Also, when you do then go back to dig into stuff and tear things apart, you'll have the whole scope of the adventure under your belt. You'll know the beginning, middle, and end. You'll have an idea that there's some important NPCs and places and locations. You'll have gone through that whole adventure and you'll know what to expect. So don't put the pressure on yourself when you first sit down to read the adventure to make any notes. Don't do anything except sit and enjoy. And then
you're right. Simple advice.
Yeah.
But that makes a huge difference to me because I feel like even as I was reading this adventure, I was like, okay, I got to like think about like the questions and like, what am I going to, yes, enjoy it. Enjoy the story first. Yes.
Love exactly. It. And I think it's absolutely normal when you are reading through an adventure and you know you're going to run it for your players to have those things come up. Oh, I should remember this question. Oh, and that's just going to be normal. But to try to just sit and absorb it, then it's going to help when you do then sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil or a Word document or, whatever you're going to do. And apparently we can now share.
I just saw that too.
All right.
The wizards have worked their magic.
Yeah, we just had to.
Something's happening. Yay! Right.
Can you see?
I can.
So here's the pie fight. Yay. So obviously what we're going to do is talk about how we're going to break down this adventure. I'm not going to read it out for everybody right now. That's not important. What we're concerned about is, when you then sit down, what are you looking for? What are you trying to do? And so let's say we've now read through this entire adventure, all 10 pages, including the credits. We've taken a long time to look at these very, the very specific credits.
That's Luke's art that's in there?
Oh, yeah. So this
I didn't know that.
Spoilers for the pie fight. It includes a fight at the end that is a legendary pie monster, which...
That is awesome.
Yeah, Luke is amazing. So we've read through this entire adventure. Maybe we've had some questions in our mind. Maybe we have thought about a couple of things we want to do. But now we're going to actually sit down, and the core to me for prepping an adventure is basically coming up with a game plan, a short little list of things that I want to have on hand really quick so that I don't constantly have to be referencing the full adventure. In a way, it's going to be kind of a bulleted list for me of the important things that I need to be able to look at a glance, because I don't need to memorize this whole adventure. that's silly. It's what I need to know though is the overall scope, the scenes I need to hit, and the important things I need to be able to reference quickly so that when I'm running the game, I'm not having to go, and then we go here. So the first thing, and we're going to come on over to my template here.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So there's a lot of people that I have taken inspiration from. And when I've developed my own style of how do I prep for adventures, Chris Perkins at one point, many, many years ago, I think it was at a convention, mentioned how he says you're prep for a specific session. And that's what a one-shot basically is. It's a session of D&D. It might be an entire adventure, but it's still a session of D&D. But your prep for that and your notes for that should really only be about a half a page. Right?
Oh, really?
Well, when you think about it, and we'll kind of go over this.
Okay.
A half a page can be a lot of information. And you want something that's easily and quickly you can reference it really quickly. So that way, when you're in the moment and you're trying to remember an NPC's name, you're trying to remember, anything that's going to be coming from that adventure that you're not making up on the fly, you want to be able to reference it super fast. And some of this is from the Sly Flourish, the Lazy Dungeon Master.
Yes.
Who I also, when you're ready to move on into prepping for an entire campaign or even longer adventures, I do recommend them. The same kind of thing. Their goal is, how do you make this easy on yourself? How do you make this so that it's just what you need and not superfluous information that can overwhelm you? So what I boil an entire adventure down into is basically an opening, what are the important scenes, and an ending. And that's going to be kind of it. There's going to be some information in there, but especially for a one-shot, you need to know where you're going to start. And, I'll kind of go through this with our pie fight in a second. What are the important scenes? Where are the places you're going to go, the things you're going to do, the things you think your party is going to do? Is there an important location? Is there an important event? Think of it like a movie. What is this scene? What is this scene? What is this scene? And where is the ending? Because you do want to get to an end. And
you definitely do.
Yeah. And how you get there and how that ending looks can morph as the adventure happens, but there's probably an ending.
And that seems like it might be more important in a one-shot because you don't have the luxury of just like, let's just we didn't get there today. We'll be back next Wednesday to keep playing. You really kind of have a shorter amount of time to complete the beginning and the middle and the end.
You can, and especially if it's the kind of thing and where you're going to be running it and you have a hard out as it is. You only have a certain amount of time. Certainly, I think players are going to be more receptive to being guided a bit more in a one-shot than they will in a campaign, because when you sign up for a one-shot, you're kind of signing up for that train ride. You're getting that acceptance that, all right, we're playing this specific adventure. If you tell us that we're going to a pie festival, we're not going to turn around and leave town. Like, that's kind of the give and take.
Right. Okay.
So your players should be on board with the conceit of the adventure. And that's where we're going to start. So I've read over the entire adventure, and now I'm going to sit down and kind of plot out what's going on. And I think it's important to think about, for a moment, how do we start? How do we get our players on board with this adventure? What is the opening scene? If this was a movie, the credits have finished rolling, where are we? And I personally think you need a line, just a single line of where is the place and time your players are being dropped into. And then you can, from there, if there's box text you want to read off, if you want to make up things as you go, if you want to just have the general idea in your head because you've read through the adventure and so you know what this town looks like, you can kind of go in a bunch of different ways from there. But it's really important to have that, what's that first line? Okay. So I literally just have a hook or an opening right here, and we'll see. I've already done the work.
This is
I've
so
already
cool. It's like being on a cooking show and like, these are the ingredients you need. Oh, wait, here it is coming out
I
of
just
my
happen
oven.
to have a pie
It just
already
happened to
set
be already baked. I should also mention, because this is a podcast, but we will have this video up on YouTube. So for those of you that actually want to look at Lauren's notes, come on over to YouTube and check out this episode there. It'll be all laid out for you.
And I will try to be good for our podcast listeners at home, since I am a podcast fan, to read off whatever is important. So we're starting off with a hook, with an opening. And literally what I've just written is, the PCs are at a pie festival and discover there's a plot to ruin it by cake fans.
Okay. So that's not crazy.
That's
pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward, right? It gets the idea across. If, as a DM, if that's how I open things for the players, if I say, you are here at this pie festival and that's where we're going, and I'm going to spoil things and be like, there's a plot to have it be ruined, and that's where we're going with this. There you go. We've started the adventure. And so from there, we're going to map out some of the scenes. What is our first scene? So the pie festival's split into, since I've read over the whole thing, I know this. The pie festival is basically split into two parts. There's a part that is, let your players enjoy the pie festival. Here's a stall over here. Here's some music over there. Here's a thing going on. There's a bunch of different activities for them to engage in. And those activities can be fun. Those activities can include some hints about some of the more nefarious things going on. And then the second half of the adventure is a fight. Okay. It's pretty simple.
We got pie and we got fight. It's in the title.
Exactly. You're going to enjoy pie and then you're going to fight pie. That's
I also would like to just mention, because I have the adventure in front of me, chapter 1, literally the name is Enjoying the Festival. So again, as if you're thinking about prepping, it's not like a book report. Well, kind of it is, but it's not the answers are there. It's not, you don't have to really spend hours and hours thoughtfully thinking, what is the purpose of chapter 1? Lauren has given you the answer right there.
And Lauren has taken a lot of inspiration from the published adventures that are out there, and both short and long. So this is a fairly standard thing you will find in adventures that you get, is a lot of the information that's in a book. Let's talk about some of the bigger adventures out there, stuff that you're going to run for a campaign. It can seem daunting, but a lot of that is just information that you as the DM are going to read over. That's going to explain things that you're not going to need to go back and re-prep. If we switch back over to that beginning of the pie festival, a lot of this enjoying the festival is just helping the DM understand the basics of what's going on. It's got this little bit of box text that you can read if you'd like. If not, you can read this over and be like, all right, this gives me an idea of the setting so that I can now describe this in my own words.
Yeah.
What is this chapter going to do? And then it splits everything out. So a lot of even this first page is not necessarily anything that you need to worry about prepping. It's something you're going to read over so that you as the DM know it. All right, I know we're at this town. I know what the basics of the plot are, and I know what scene 1 is going to be. Scene 1 is, if this is a movie, once again, my players have reached the front of the street, and they're looking down the main road that has been turned into this festival. And there's carnival barkers, and there's music, and there's smells, and there's all of this stuff. And really, as a DM, all I need to know is we're at a pie festival, and I've read this over. So the next thing is, all right, let's describe that scene. And so as a DM, what I would do at that point is go through this first chapter of the adventure and take note of each of these important bits of places that people can go. In this case, for the pie festival, it is, where are all of the stalls? What's happening at each of the stalls? Who are the important people I'm going to meet at these stalls? And is there a thing that needs to happen or can happen? And if we go back to our template, you'll see that's what I'm thinking about. What is the purpose of this scene? What are the important plot points? Who are the important NPCs, locations, and monsters? And that way, when I come back, when I'm running this game for Shelly, instead of having to look at the adventure and read, I have literally just bulleted points. Where are we? Who are the people I need to know? What's the important bits I need to know? For example, one of the first places you can go in the pie festival is this place called Hawk's Preserves. It is a stall that is literally just a place you can go and buy jams and jellies for the insides of pies. There is a human proprietor in her 60s named Selga Hawkbleeder, and she's selling gems and jellies for 2 to 5 silver pieces each. That line is everything I really need to know about this. Now, the actual adventure, we'll go into a little more detail. There's something else that you can do during that part of the adventure. It gives descriptions of some of the flavors of jams and jellies that you can get. And depending on what you feel is important, maybe, you know what, I can come up with the names of jams and jellies off the top of my head, or I'm going to have my players just whatever they say. Hey, do you have a banana? Yes, I do. Hey, do you have a fig? Yes, I do. But maybe I don't. Maybe that's a thing that I'm going to be bad at. I would put that in here. But this is what I'm talking about of like, what are the really important things I need to know for this scene when they walk into Hawk's Preserves? Well, now I got the NPC they're going to talk to. I've got a very basic idea of what kind of character she is, why is she there, and why are my players there? And that's it. And since I've read the adventure, if I need more, I can go back. I can reference real quick. Does that make sense?
Totally. Like, it's really breaking it down for me, and I love this.
Now, the key to this is going to be as you continue to do this, as you prep your second adventure, as you prep your third adventure, you're going to learn the things that are really important for you specifically.
Okay.
And the things that are maybe not as important. For me, I'm really bad at names. I'm super bad at names. I cannot make up a name or else everybody's Bob. So I need those names. Selga is super important. The rest of that, I'll just make up a person on the fly. That I feel confident in doing. But that's only after I've had the chance a couple times to practice my DMing and practice my improv and learn that. So you'll find the important things that you need to put into this will change over time, and that's super okay. Let's go to a more complex one.
Okay.
Let's go to the actual pie eating contest that you can enjoy.
Okay.
So the pie eating contest is a stall that's there at the adventure that the NPCs can participate in. And not only is there an event that's going on, but now we're going to introduce some of the plot, some of the undercurrent of what's going to happen in the second half of this adventure can start to happen here. And so what is the purpose of this scene? Well, the purpose of it is a fun thing for the PCs to do, but it's also to have a moment in where the fact that the cake bakers are super upset with this pie festival is going to come up. So we'll want to make sure that we make a note of this. The pie eating contest, we got our NPC there who's running it. Give us a brief description. What are they doing? They're running the contest. What is the contest? Well, I've taken the information about the contest, which is described in fairly good detail in about 4 paragraphs here. And I have condensed it for my own use into 3 sentences with the DCs that I need and the checks that I need and town folks and everything. Because I don't need it to sound pretty. I don't need it to be in complete sentences. I don't need any of that.
Right.
I need
It's
to
just
know
your notes.
Exactly. When my players say, pie festival, yes, I want, give me pies. I can be like, all right. You're going to go up to the table and everybody's going to get a thick caramel pie with a spoon and the guy's going to yell, go. And we're going to go into rounds. And now you're going to have to do a strength check every round. Everybody roll a strength check. DC for this first round is going to be 10. And now I know it's going to go up by 2 every round. I'm going to roll for a couple townspeople over here. They get a +1. Oh, you got a 9? Sorry, you're out. Oh, who's the person who wins is the one who lasts the longest and the ties are broken by the highest roll. There you go.
Okay.
That's everything I need to know to run a little pie competition. And the nice thing about this is once they start rolling, those are moments during the gaming where I'm like, what also happens? Oh yeah, this is what the winner gets, and here's the plot that happens. So I've got everything I need to know to run this little event. Also, I now have this other NPC, Bargriff, who's going to try to steal the coupon that is the thing that you get. And why are they stealing the coupon? Well, they got promised some gold by a local cake baker. And oh, yeah, it's a perception check in order to find the guy. So that description is all here in this sidebar in nicer language, in full sentences, with maybe a little bit more information about like, oh, well, what happens if a character decides to try to see what's going on? What happens if the guy gets caught? All of that. But I've distilled it down to the one sentence that I need, and I can kind of go from there. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm wondering,
yes,
like, so you've got the pie eating contest going on. You're narrating that. You're rolling for the townsfolk. Your players are rolling. At what point do you let them know that this character is trying to steal a coupon? Do you say like how do you work that in?
There's a bunch of different ways, and this might be something that I've thought about when I am prepping this. And if this is a question that you've thought up, how do I let them know? Then maybe this is something you want to include in your prep notes.
Okay.
So in the adventure, it says it's a perception check DC 10. Maybe I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to ask my players during the second round, hey, everybody give me a perception check.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to use some passive perceptions. I know my rogue has got a passive perception of 15, and that passive is high enough to catch Bargriff stealing the coupon. And so I'm just going to let the rogue know. Maybe there's another reason why I might call for it. So that would be a good thing to put in here for my prep. I might say, check passive perceptions, call for a roll.
Okay.
On round 2.
Okay.
And so this is the kind of thing I would put in my notes if I was reading through the adventure and got to that point. It's like, all right, well, it's nice that they give me the DC to notice that this guy is stealing a coupon. When do I do that?
Yeah.
And so this now helps, you've now asked yourself that question, and you can take a moment and kind of answer it. So you don't have to answer it on the fly.
Right.
And maybe you won't have to. Maybe this is the kind of thing during the game and where you've got the rogue who is just always on the lookout for everything, and they're rubbernecking wherever you go. But now you've got that right there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. And then, as you can see, I've done this with some of the other events that are going on, because scene 1 to me is the first half of this movie, which is all of the stuff that the characters can do at this pie festival. Because it is a dynamic space, because it is branching paths in a way. The characters may go and do all this in any order. I kind of need to have all of this information all in one scene, so that if they decide, the first thing we actually want to do is go dance with the lizard folk band that's dancing around, I'm like, all right, I got them right here. I know who they are. What do I need to know? Well, they're a lizard folk band. They're, here's the perception check to see some sullen cake bakers hanging around. That's all I need. And now they're going to hang out. And maybe 2 of my adventurers are going to go off somewhere else. Well, I've got all the other stuff going on here at the Pie Festival. So that's all scene 1. And once again, the things I am focused on when I'm preparing to run that scene are the really important bits that I want to be consistent with. What's the purpose of this scene? What are the important plot points? Who are the important people? What are the important locations? And are there any monsters?
Okay. It makes it really does make it simple. And I'm glad that we're looking at it so we can see that as well.
Well, and the question you had was an excellent one, because that is something that will come up as you're going through and being like, okay, I'm going to, prep this. I'm going to prep this cow milking contest. I'm going to prep the pie eating contest. What happens if? What happens if? And some of those what happens if that come into your head, you may immediately have an answer for, and it's not something you're going to need to write down, because I'll figure, that's something I feel confident of figuring out in the moment. Yeah. And some of those questions you'll come up with might stump you for a second. Like, I don't know. Maybe I should write that down.
Yeah. Well, I would have to write it down because I'm pretty sure I honestly believe I would forget about the coupon almost being stolen because I would be so focused on the pie contest.
See, now I would forget Zachary Bellin's name. I can't even remember his name right now, and I have it right in front of me, and I wrote this adventure. So, like, what you personally the things that you will forget,
Yeah.
like everyone does. Nobody remembers everything that's in an adventure, even those of us that wrote them. So don't be afraid to just bullet point out all of those little things and have them right there. Let's move on to scene 2.
Okay.
And we'll talk a little bit about this because scene 2 will actually involve combat. And that's why, if you'll notice here, and for our podcast listeners at home, I will explain, it's actually a lot shorter than the first scene.
I noticed that.
Yeah. Well, combat is one of those things in D&D that takes prep, but in a different way. And a lot of the prep is actually usually done for you in the adventure, because if we come back to what are the things that we're looking for in a scene? Well, what's the purpose of this scene? Well, the first scene was enjoy the pie festival. Now the trumpets have gone off and the festival is coming to an end, and the entire crowd is being pushed to the end of the festival, which is when Lord Commodore Shatterfury is going to sample the pies that are in the official festival and decide on which one is going to win. And the entire town is coming to this end of the festival. All the shops are closing down. Everybody's closing down. And so the second scene is here at the grand finale. And it really doesn't include that much.
Oh.
What is the purpose of this scene? Well, the festival is closing. There's going to be this final tasting, and disaster is going to strike. That's really all you need to know.
Right.
Now, who's involved in this? Well, we got Lord Commodore Shatterfury. Who is he? He's a male dwarf. I got a couple of adjectives in there to help me describe them. What are they doing? They're tasting the final pies. There's more information in the adventure, but that's going to help me remember right off the top of my head, what's going on. There's also this cake baker who's going to show up and who's going to cause havoc by animating one of the pies into the legendary pie monster. And when that happens, the guards are going to be concerned with all the innocent people around, but you're adventurers. You're going to fight the pie. And if you're adventurers who are like, nah, we don't want to fight the pie, then the pie's going to fight you. So really the second half of the adventure is you're fighting a pie.
Yes.
Now, I don't need to reproduce all of the information about the legendary pie monster in my notes. What I need to know is, this is where the pie fight happens. Stats are at the end of the adventure. Plus, I need the swarm of insects, which is in the monster manual, page 338. And that's all I need to know. So at this point during the prep, I've prepped basically the entire fight. I've read over the stats of the monster. I've read over kind of the situation. And so I know how the monster is going to attack. I know what's going to happen. I don't need to reproduce any of that here. I'm just going to pull up the monster stats. And I'm going to pull up the monster manual with the other stats that I need, and I'm going to run a combat. And that's really all I need to know is, all right, here's the stats for this, here's the stats for that, and here we go into combat. Since this is a legendary pie monster, it does have some legendary actions and some layer actions. And it's a little more of a complex monster than some basic monsters that are out there, or even just some, here's a swarm of rats kind of thing. So if you're feeling nervous about running a combat, you might want to have prepped ahead of time the initiative tracker. You might want to prep ahead of time, however you want to actually coordinate combat, whether it's going to be theater of the mind, whether it's going to be on a grid, whether it's going to be some combination of the two. You might want to have that all prepped in advance, but the actual fight, all the information you need is just right here in the stat block. Does that make sense?
Yes. And there's good stuff in here. The banana peel, I love. I love that the pie monster can summon fruit flies.
Yep. I kind of like the geckos. I specifically like because I think geckos are cute and they've got those web feet.
Yeah.
But yes, this is for those of you who are interested in the adventure, this is not supposed to be the deadliest of monsters. This is supposed
a
to
pie.
be it's a pie. It's supposed to be a little more ridiculous than deadly, but it's got some pretty, devastating attacks.
Yeah, it's not nothing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. If you're prepping and you're not looking at making any adjustments, then you're good to go. I think at this point, since since you've picked up this adventure that talked about level 6 adventurers, this stat block should be good for level 6 characters. But this would be the moment when you're prepping and where if this is a bunch of level 4 characters, or maybe you got a bunch of level 9 characters, and where you'll look into doing adjustments before you play. All right, we're going to increase or decrease hit points and things like that to make this a challenge for the party that I have. But especially when you're first starting out as a DM, I would recommend find yourself an adventure that's geared for the party that you have.
That's good advice, because I don't know the first thing about balance and
that's its
scaling down and scaling up.
That's its own other. You're going to find some other person who's going to sit in one of these boxes and talk to you about that. So yeah, but at this point, we're not going to worry about those kind of adjustments. And then if we come back to our template over here, that's scene 2. Scene 2 is show up, fight a pie monster. Yay. Yeah. And then we come to the end, because that's a natural ending. So the denouement in this is anything that you think you're going to need to help wrap up the adventure. Well, Lord Shadowfury is probably going to reward the players. What do they reward them with? What did the baker who caused all of this, did they have anything else on them? They've been taken into custody, and you search search what they've got. Do they have any other weapons? And what happens to the person responsible at the end? And now you kind of know that, and you can wrap everything up in a nice little bow. And if you're running out of time, then maybe this is the thing you just narrate. And if you've got a little more time, or if things are a little more flexible and your players want to do some other things, or maybe at this point they're like, well, but we want to go back to the pie festival. Maybe now it's like, all right, well, they reopen the festival for you, and you go back and you can go do some of the other stuff. But this gives you that nice little ending. And in the adventure, that's kind of wrapped up with resolving the fight. And it's a couple of it's all this information that I've literally distilled down into 3 sentences and a bit.
I know.
It's important bits that I need.
It is very impressive that you can have basically a page of notes, bullets.
Yep.
Or a 3-hour adventure. And I feel like it's doable.
Is super doable. Now, there's one other thing that I would suggest at this point. So you've kind of, part 1 is read the whole adventure. Part 2 is kind of the meat of prep. It is going through the adventure and distilling everything down into these bullet points and everything. And then if you can, my suggestion is to then go back through your prep notes and delete things and get rid of things and pare things down. And maybe it's information that you don't need. Maybe it's information that you put in there, and the more you think about it, you're like, I feel confident in making that up on the fly. I don't need that here. Maybe it's things like, this is an adventure that is set for 3 hours, but I've only got 2. So let's just get rid of this whole cow milking contest part. That just no longer exists.
And you really did just delete it.
I'm just going to delete it out of there. You know what? Of all of the things that can happen at this pie fight, at this pie festival, I want to be able to experience everything else. But the cow milking contest didn't appeal to me. Didn't seem like fun. I think there's too much in here already, and so that it just doesn't exist anymore. It's no longer in the adventure.
I think that's a good lesson there, because I can already tell. I know me. I overprep. I over take notes. I can see that I would have a lot of bullets. I would probably end up almost rewriting the adventure in bullet form because I would be so afraid I'm going to miss something or forget something. So I think that editing part is really important, but I also think that the more you do this, then probably the better you are at plucking out, seeing exactly what those elements are to distill an adventure down to its very basic bullets.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to over prep when you're first doing it. Don't let yourself, we hear a lot about I over prepare. And yeah, that is a thing that DMs can do, that they can over prepare, that it is dangerous to do that, or, it takes up way too much of your time. I'm here to tell you it's okay, because when you are first DMing, when you're first learning your own style, when you're first learning how to prep, you don't know what over prep is.
No.
And over preparing is something that you only figure out after I don't need to sit down and write out a description of every single location. I can come up with that on the fly. So that is my over preparation. I just need like 2 or 3 lines or 2 or 3 words sometimes, but I better have a list of names. I better have those names nearby. I can come up with, 5 or 6 houses in a town, but I need the town square and I need the town map. That really only comes with some of this experience. And so, the first time you sit to prep an adventure, you're going to do that. You're going to bullet point everything. You're going to have too much in there. So let yourself do it. Give yourself the extra time. Be kind to yourself. Go back afterwards and see if you can pare a few things down. See if you can remove a few things. Even if you've taken a 10-page adventure and now you've gotten it to 2 pages worth of notes, 2 pages worth of prep. There you go. That's still... Not only have you now made it easier for you on the fly to find the information that you need, you've now gone through and thought about this adventure a lot. It will be in your head.
Yes.
When you sit down to roll dice with your friends, you're going to remember going through these things. You're going to remember at least writing things out and where you put it on the notes and everything. And so when you do take the moment to look at your notes, you're going to be able to grab it really fast. You're going to know exactly where it is.
And the other thing, like you'll have the adventure there too. And
you'll have the adventure.
And it's perfectly okay, I think, to say to your players, I don't know, hang on, let me look that up. I don't remember. Like
100%.
I experienced dungeon masters still flip through books and ask, like, I don't know, actually know what to do there. You tell me. Like it's fine, right?
It is.
It's okay.
It is also 100% okay for you to have prepped something and sit down and remember it wrong and look over at your notes and decide to just go with what came out of your mouth instead of what's in the notes.
Hey, if you can do that I say, good job.
It will happen. It'll 100% happen. You will think that you've remembered something, and it'll probably be something small. It'll be the DC of a perception check. It'll be the name of somebody. It'll be, the pie-eating contest is actually run by Selga, whereas Hawk's Preserves is run by Zachary.
And that's fine.
And that's fine. And that's super okay. And the gorgeous thing about it being all here in your notes is if you need to, you can take 10 seconds and just switch those names. And there you go, be done.
They're your notes.
They're your notes. Players are never going to know. And then my final bit of advice as you go on through this is, so you're going to do this for these one-shots. You're going to do this for this. All right, we're going to play for 2-3 hours and we're going to be done. It's going to be great. And eventually you're going to want to do a campaign. You're going to want to do something longer, maybe something that's going to take 3 or 4 sessions, 5 or 6 sessions. Your prep should be pretty much the same.
Oh my gosh.
The difference is that instead of me prepping an entire adventure all at once, I'm now going to prep just a session. All right, what does the next session involve? What is the opening? What are the scenes I want to hit? Where do I want to end? And the only difference is that where do I want to end might be a to be continued instead of and you've won, yay! So once you kind of get used to doing this prep and how your prep works and what you need to get ready for a one shot, the difference between that and a longer campaign is that the adventure is bigger. That's it.
Okay. I mean,
baby steps to Curse of Strahd.
Baby steps for sure, but these are very good. This is like baby steps with a walker. Like it, like really, like the ability to distill it down. I love the template, and I love seeing how you filled in the template. So I feel like I actually feel like I want to go find an adventure, and I want to do the bullets. I want to do the exercise. I want to do it.
I found the bullet points as super useful, and definitely that's why I was so excited about Candlekeep Adventures or Candlekeep Mysteries, because they are adventures you can run in a sitting in 2 or 3 hours. And so instead of learning how to prep and being confronted with a big giant tome that is a campaign, it's all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to prep this thing that's only 10 pages. 10 pages is that's fine. It's easy, And so you can do it, and the amount of information you need to once again go back to what I remember Chris Perkins saying, which is keep it short, keep it half a page, keep it simple, and you can, as you just said, you can always reference the original adventure.
Yep, definitely. And you know what? Candlekeep Mysteries is actually a good. Maybe I'll practice on Candlekeep Mysteries and just try one of the first level ones.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I love this.
And then once it's prepped, then you got to run it.
I mean, it's just going to be laid out there for me. It's practically running itself.
Exactly. Now you just need a couple of friends in 3 hours.
Okay.
We're getting you closer.
We'll get
closer,
there.
Shelley.
We'll get there. If not me, I think you have definitely inspired other people listening, because you have really broken it down in a really easy way. Because that's always been a very daunting thing, is the prep. Like, really, what does the prep mean? So I think bullet points are your friends.
Absolutely. Bullet points.
Good advice.
Keep things simple. You've got this.
And read the adventure for fun first. I love that. I really do. I have never done that with an adventure. I always have to read it like, I have to think about this immediately. How will the questions, where will we go? No, just enjoy it.
We all do it. It is just a thing, I was just doing it literally yesterday. I was looking through an adventure that I'm going to prep to run. And I was doing the thing of like, I should think about moving this here. I should think about using that. No. Just sit and read. We'll move things later.
Yep.
You'll study things later.
Yep.
You'll just read it all the way through.
Good advice. I knew you would have it. So thank you so much. You are obviously, again, a wealth of information and just a great all-around person in the community. So if people haven't already discovered you, where's the best place for them to find you and see what great things you're working on?
Twitter is the best place to keep in touch with all of the weird things that I do. I'm at Obo Lauren. It's where I post pretty much anything that I'm doing, whether it be D&D or music or in between.
That sounds wonderful. Okay. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time to walk me through this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is super fun.
Well, I'll have you on again. I mean, anything you want to teach us new dungeon masters about, you let me know.
I mean, the next thing apparently we got to do is I don't know if I'm the person to talk about scaling adventures, but that will be next.
Oh, okay. Deep breath, everyone. All right. Deep breath, everyone. We'll just start here. But yes, thank you. You are awesome as always.
Thank you.
You're welcome.